Hi, everybody. Okay, so I just want to kind of go over a review of some things. So last chapter, topic, whatever you want to call it, we talked about simplifying expressions. So we use distributive property, we combine like terms. That's going to come up today in our lesson. So we still need to know how to use distributive property. And we still need to know that, 5x can go with 2x, but 5x can't go with 2y, right? So we still have to know those things. We're still doing equations. We've gone over one-step equations. Sorry, there's a little bit of a lag right now. Let's get up to speed, computer. One-step equations, we've done two-step equations. So today we are moving on to multi-step equations. Multi-step means like basically more than two steps, okay? But the golden rule still applies. We always have to keep our equation balanced. So if I'm going to divide by 5 on this side, I also have to divide by 5 on this side. And then the objective, overall point of an equation is to get that variable by itself, to isolate the variable. So open up to your next blank page, and this lesson is going to be called multi-step equations. I'm so sorry, it's so laggy. Let's see if it gets cut. Multi-step equations. Okay, so we are going to write some steps down today, just like a procedure for you to follow. So we're going to write it down first, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so step 1, so slow today, I'm so sorry. Step 1 is to simplify the left side of the equation comma, simplify the left side of the equation, then simplify the right side of the equation. Feel free to pause the video if you need to write that down. But simplify, we just kind of went over that a few pages ago. But here are the two main ways to simplify in math. Distributive property. And remember, distributive property is used when there's some parentheses and you can't actually solve what's in the parentheses. You can't simplify what's in the parentheses, but maybe there's a term or a number out front and you multiply it through. So that might come up today. And then another way to simplify is to combine like terms. So we'll see if there's, many variables that we can put together on the left side and things like that. Okay, so let's go to step 2. After we simplify the left side and the right side, then you can just solve like normal. And that's literally what I'm going to write down. Step 2 is solve like normal. Okay, because at this point, after you simplify the left side and you simplify the right side, after that point, it'll just look like a two-step equation. So what I mean by solve is like you get the variable by itself. So you use inverse operations and all that stuff. And let's go ahead and add that. So here's what I mean by solve. Isolate the variable. Using inverse operations. Okay. And then, of course, we have to mention the golden rule. What's the golden rule of equations? Keep the equation balanced. I'm just going to write that right here. Okay. Make that stand out in your notes, highlight it, make it pretty, whatever you want to do. Okay, so obviously we know what balanced, well, hopefully we know what balanced means. Whatever I do on one side, have to do to the other. And that's when you're solving, like if you're using inverse operations over here, you got to do that same thing on this side. So let's first start with some distributive property questions. So I'm going to just put this as a category in the notes, distributive property. Okay, here is number 1. We're going to have a 3 right next to a set of parentheses, and inside your parentheses is x plus 4. Okay, so that right there is an expression, right? There's no equal sign yet. So if I said, hey, go ahead and use distributive property, you would know 3 times x and then 3 times 4 drop down, right? Well, this is within an equation, so you're going to put it equal to something. We're going to set it equal to 48. Because I have that equal sign in there, now we're going, oh, I have to solve for x in this case, okay? But we're going to follow these steps that we wrote. So simplify the left side and then simplify the right side. So we're only focusing on simplifying right now. So I'm going to cover up the right side, so I'm only focused on the left. How can I simplify this side? Well, I'm going to use distributive property. So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 4 is positive 12. I'm going to drop down my equal sign, and then I'm going to only focus on the right side. Well, on the right side, it's just 48. Can I simplify that further? No. So I'm just going to drop it down. You know, maybe if it was like 40 plus 8, you would simplify it and you'd make it 48. Okay? So you simplify if you can. Sometimes you don't need to. Now this, what I have in pink on my paper here, that's a normal 2-step equation. That's what we were doing last week. So now you get to start solving like normal. This is where it's whatever you do on one side, you have to do to the other. So I'm going to separate my sides to keep my work organized here. So I'm looking at the side with x on it. Do I get rid of the 3 or the 12 right now? Well, 12 is the constant, so I got to get rid of the 12. Since it's a positive 12, I'm going to subtract 12. But whatever I do on one side, have to do to the other. 12 minus 12 cancels out. I'm left with 3x is equal to, and then 48 minus 12 is 36. Am I done? No. X is not isolated. It's got that 3 in front of it, which means it's 3 times x. Since x is multiplying by 3, how do I cancel that out? I divide by 3. Whatever I do on one side, have to do to the other. 3 divided by 3 cancels to 1. And 1 times x is just x. 36 divided by 3 is 12. Okay. So there you go. You just did a multi-step equation. Basically, you're simplifying first, and then you're solving like normal. Okay. Here's number 2. 10 equals -2 times a set of parentheses. Inside your parentheses is 3w plus 1. Okay, so we simplify first. So let's simplify the left side. Left side's just a 10. I can't simplify that further. So I just drop it down. Now we're simplifying the right side. Is there some stuff I can do to clean it up? Yeah, I can use distributive property to make it a little bit more simple looking. Negative 2 times 3w is negative 6w. Negative 2 times positive 1 is negative 2. So on the right side, I have negative 6w minus 2 after distributive property. Now this, what I have in green here, that's like a normal equation to us. So I'm going to isolate that w. First number I'm going to get rid of is that negative 2. Okay. Separate my sides. To cancel out that negative 2, we're going to add 2 on both sides, of course. 10 plus 2 is 12. I drop down what's left over, which is a negative 6w. Okay, and to isolate w, I got to get rid of the coefficient. So we're going to divide by its coefficient, which is negative 6. Got to divide by that on both sides. Positive 12 divided by negative 6 is negative 2. So I get negative 2 equals w. But hopefully remember that our final answer, we kind of want our variable on the left. So we're just going to twist that around real quick. W equals negative 2. Okay. Now some of you are like, why didn't Ms. Meineke do her check? We're going to check on the next page, but you can do, if you're good at mental math, and I know some of you are, then you can just plug this in, just like in your head. If I plug in a 12 right there, 12 plus 4 is 16. 3 times 16, if you use a calculator, yeah, it's 48. So we're good. Negative 2, if I plug that in right there, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. Negative 2 times negative 5, positive 10. So we're good. Okay. The checks, I know I've been stressing it a lot because it's super important. The checks are like super duper important when we get to like really, really ugly equations, which is coming next week. Okay. But it is important that you kind of plug it in, whether it's in your head or on paper, just to make sure it's correct. Okay, so we're going to go to our next little chunk of notes, which is combining like terms. Okay, so in these first two equations, we use distributive property to simplify. Now we're going to do combining like terms to simplify. So here's number 3, number 4. Okay, number 3, got a lot here, ready? 2 minus 4y plus 5 minus y, that's all on one side, equals negative 28. Okay, so before I start moving things to sides and isolating y, I'm gonna clean it up. I'm gonna clean up the left side, clean up the right side. Simplify the left, simplify the right. So let's look at the left side. Is there anything I can do to simplify this bit? Yeah, I can combine like terms. First of all, I'm just gonna start with the 2. The 2 and the 5 to go together, right? Positive 2 plus 5 is 7. Okay. What else can I put together on the left? Well, I can put my y's together. Same variable raised to the same power. I can add them up. I can put them together. This is a negative 4y, and this is a negative 1y. Negative 4 plus negative 1 is negative 5y. So that'd be minus 5y. So that's us cleaning up the left side. I'm going to drop down my equal sign. And now we're going to look at the right side. Is there any simplifying we can do? No, it's already simplified. Just drop it down. Okay, now that this is simplified on both sides, now we can solve like normal. I can get rid of things, cancel out things using inverse operations. So let's go ahead and look at what we need to get rid of. The 5 or the 7, which one goes first? We sneak up on our variable, right? So 7 has to be eliminated first. That's a positive 7, right? We look at the sign in front of it. That's a positive 7. So I'm going to subtract 7 on both sides. And then when I drop down that term, keep in mind, you got to keep the sign that's in front of it. That's a negative 5y equals, and then on the right side, careful with your math here, negative 28 minus 7. That's negative 35. If you don't trust me, get a calculator, okay? Y needs to be by itself, so we gotta divide by its coefficient, divide by negative 5 on both sides of the equation. And we're left with positive y equals positive 7. Okay. Now, we're going to do checks on the next page, but just want to mention something here. Since you have 2 locations where y is at, you would have to plug in your 7 on both of them. So it would be like 2 minus 4 times 7 plus 5 minus 7. Okay. It does come out correct. But we'll check on the next page. Here's number 4. 10 minus, sorry for the roller coaster right there. 10 minus 8x plus 7x equals 3 minus 7. Okay, I look on the left side. Can I simplify things? Yeah, I can put my x's together, right? So negative 8x plus 7x. Negative 8 plus 7 is negative 1. So that would be negative 1x. You can leave it as negative x, or you can put the 1 in front. I know some of you like to do that, so I'll do it on this one. And I just dropped down the 10. 10 didn't have any friends on that side, okay? Some of you are thinking, well, can I put the 10 with the 3 and the 7? No. Here's why. They're on different sides of the equal sign. They are separate, okay? Don't be combining things that are on different sides of the equation. No, okay? So we simplify the left. We're done simplifying. We go to the right. Is there anything we can simplify? Yeah. What's 3 minus 7? Negative 4. So now, after I clean things up, I'm left with 10 minus 1x equals negative 4. So now we can solve like normal. Go to the side with my variable on it. I get rid of that constant, that 10. That's a positive 10 because the sign in front of it is nothing, which means it's positive. If it's a positive 10, I'm going to subtract 10 on both sides. I'm left with negative 1x equals negative 14. I don't want negative 1x, I want positive x. So I divide by negative 1 on both sides. Positive x equals positive 14. Okay? Okay, so we know what to do when there's distributive property involved. You just distribute first, then you solve like normal. We know what to do when there's combining like terms involved. Combine stuff, then solve like normal. And now we're kicking it up a notch, okay? These next few problems are going to have both distributive property and combining like terms in it, okay? So I'm just going to write distribute and combine. Now, let's test you on something. Does it matter which one of these I do first? Is it okay if I combine terms and then distribute? No. You have to distribute first because technically when you're just using distributive property, you're multiplying, right? And when you're combining, that's adding and subtracting. So we do need to think about PEMDAS here, okay? So we multiply before we add and subtract. Here is number 5. We are going to check this one. We're going to practice a check on kind of the gross ones, the more difficult ones. Negative 2x plus 3 times parentheses. Inside your parentheses is 2x minus 1. Okay, so that's the left side of your equation. You're going to set that equal to negative 15. Okay, so on the left side, there's a lot of stuff. We got to simplify all of that down before we start solving, okay? So I'm going to only focus on the left side here. What comes first? Should I put negative 2x with 2x? Absolutely not. Reason is that stuff's in parentheses, okay? We have to do distributive property before we can combine stuff. So distributive property, positive 3 is going to get multiplied to the stuff inside the parentheses. 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times negative 1, negative 3. I'm going to drop down anything that wasn't used. This 6x was positive, so I'll drop a plus sign in front. Drop down my equal sign, drop down my negative 15. So all I did was distributive property. Maybe I'm done simplifying, but maybe I'm not. Let's look at the left side. Is there anything I can do to simplify this further? Yes, I can put my x terms together. Negative 2x plus 6x is 4x. Drop down minus 3, drop down the equal sign, drop down the negative 15. Now, after I've cleaned that up, I'm left with 4x minus 3 equals negative 15. That looks pretty normal to us, right? That's just a two-step equation. So now we get to start solving. We get to start moving terms to the other side and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so we're isolating x. I got to get rid of the 3 first because it's the constant. Since it's a negative 3, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. Drop down your positive 4x equals, and then negative 15 plus 3 is negative 12. Not quite done yet. Got to get x by itself. So I'm going to divide by the 4 on both sides. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And 1 times x is just x. Negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. Okay. So some of you think that a check is just like redoing it again. I mean, you can do that. Sometimes I go over and I'm like, okay, 6x minus 3, that's a positive 4x, I add 3, divide by 4, boom. Sometimes I do that. But a traditional check means, let's see if x is actually negative 3. Plug it in wherever you see an x, and let's see if the equation is balanced. Let's see if the left side of the equation is actually equal to the right side of the equation. Okay, so I'm rewriting this original equation, except for wherever there's an x, I'm going to substitute in or plug in a negative 3. So I have negative 2 times, I'm using parentheses when I plug in, times negative 3 plus 3, and then that 3 was next to parentheses, 2x, so we have 2 times our x, which is negative 3, minus 1, and parentheses, equals negative 15. Now, something that's bugging me, and you might remember this from order of operations, is this whole parentheses within parentheses. This I want to change to brackets. It's just better that way. And we're seeing if this is actually a true statement. We want to see if all this garbage on the left actually equals negative 15. So this right side, I'm not doing anything with the right side. I'm hoping that as I simplify this left side, that it actually equals negative 15, okay? So if we go on the left side, we're just using order of operations to simplify this down. I gotta do these grouping symbols first. Inside the grouping symbols, I multiply. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Now I can, oops, I didn't mean to put that there. I'll put it right here. Now I'm gonna leave that in parentheses since we're done with the brackets. Drop down the other stuff. Okay, I still gotta solve p parentheses. Negative 6 minus 1 is negative 7. Drop stuff down, and now you just have 2 little multiplication things over here. Negative 6 times negative 3 is negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. So I have 6 minus 21 equals negative 15. Now, maybe you take a calculator, 6 minus 21. If you're good at mental math, you know that that actually equals negative 15. So since this comes out to be a balanced equation, you know your answer was correct. Our answer is x equals negative 3. Okay, let's do one more of kind of these more lengthy problems. And yes, we're going to check it because it's your favorite thing to do. Okay, 20 equals 10 minus 2. The 2 is right next to a set of parentheses. 6y minus 1. Okay. See that I have an equation. Let's make sure the left and right side are simplified. Left side. So anything I can do to make that more simple? No, it's just a 20. Just gonna drop down the 20 and the equal sign. Right side, holy cow. Watch the stuff over there. Where do I start? Should I do 10 minus 2 real quick? Make that an 8? Heck no. Nope, 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 nope. You gotta do distributive property before you combine stuff. Now, that's a negative 2, right? Negative. Negative 2 gets multiplied through. Negative 2 times 6y is negative 12y. Negative 2 times negative 1, positive 2. Gotta drop down that 10. Don't forget about that, okay? So all we've done is use distributive property on the right side. Okay, now in my next line of work, that 20, there's nothing I can do to that 20, so just drop it down. The right-hand side, there's still some simplifying to do. The 10 and the 2 can go together. They are like terms. 10 plus 2 is 12. So I have 20 equals 12 minus 12y. Okay, now, sorry I did that all in one color. That really bothers me what I just did. You guys don't care. I know you don't. Okay, so now we can start solving for y, isolating y. This is where whatever I do on one side, I have to do the other. So I'm going to start by getting rid of this constant of 12. That is a positive 12. So I'm going to subtract 12 on both sides. To 20 minus 12 is 8. And then I'm left with a negative 12y. So I have 8 equals negative 12y. I don't want negative 12y, I just want y. So I divide both sides by negative 12. And then some of you are going, uh-oh, I think I did it wrong. I don't know, maybe we did, maybe we didn't. But we're going to get this right here, which is not a whole number. And that's fine. You just need to make sure that you always, 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 make a note of this, please. Always simplify your fractions. Now, if you put this into a calculator, 8 divided by negative 12, you are going to get a repeating decimal, which is yucky. If it was a decimal that ended nicely, sure, write the decimal answer. If it's not a nice decimal, then we don't want it. We want the legit, true answer. So what we're going to do is we're just going to simplify this fraction. 8 and 12 are both divisible by 4. So I'm going to divide each of them by 4. That would be a positive 2 and a negative 3. So negative 2/3 is equal to y. Y equals negative 2/3. Now, I'm definitely going to want to check this one just because we're all kind of insecure about fractions, I think. So I'm going to rewrite the original equation. I'm going to make the original parentheses into brackets so that when I plug in my negative 2/3, it's not annoying me. Okay, so instead of 6 times y, we're plugging in our answer that we got for y. Now, some of you just hate this right here. And by the way, if you have a calculator, use a calculator. I'll show you how to do it in a calculator. 6, and then I'm going to do parentheses, negative 2, negative 2 divided by 3. You get negative 4. Now, by hand, I just think of it like this. That's 6 over 1 times negative 2 over 3. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. 1 times 3 is 3. Negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. Okay. And I still have to subtract that 1, dropping down all the stuff, seeing if that actually equals. Okay, so that 20 is just going to get dropped down all the way. Parentheses, negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5. Okay, and then right here, negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10. 10 plus 10 is 20. Does 20 equal 20? Sure does. That means we got it correct. Y equals negative 2/3. Correct. Okay, so it is now the time where you get to practice on your own, and I'm just going to give you 2 questions, 2 equations to solve. Here are your 2 equations. Number 7, negative 18 equals 2x minus, and that minus sign is right next to a set of parentheses, so remember what that means. So negative 1 being multiplied. Inside your parentheses is 3x plus 4. Okay, number 8, negative 3 minus negative 3 minus 4x plus 5 minus 6x equals 32. Pause if you need to. Make sure you wrote those down correctly. Okay. And these 2 need to be done before Zoom class. Whether you have me Monday or Tuesday, it needs to be done before Zoom class. Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.